I think that's a good sign for you guys that it was very well enjoyed. So to start off this National Assembly, I would like to invite your National President and also the organizing committee to give any opening words. So a round of applause for them.
Okay, so just for the sake of information, you will not hear.
You're not supposed to hear.
You're not supposed to hear the mic through the columns because it's in a smaller space enough that we can hear each other, and because we have too many laptops here that are gonna stream audio and video simultaneously. But this is important for the stream because this catches perfect gain for the stream, and everybody will hear us online, especially people who are joining in if there isn't going to be any online. So just, even though you're not going to hear yourself on the microphone, don't feel ashamed to speak like this, even though it's not blasting in the room. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. I hope you enjoyed last evening and also the plenaries during the day. And I hope you also got to sleep a little bit. And let's have a fresh start into the day and then listen to the candidacies and go through the day and have a nice day together. So with that, I hand over to the OC.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you enjoyed yesterday. Today we also have something special planned for you in the evening, but of course first are all the plenaries. Coffee breaks and lunch and dinner will be in the break room where you had breakfast and also dinner yesterday. If you have any questions, the OC is wearing green badges. I'm a bad example right now because I'm not wearing it, but in general it's the green badges, and helpers have an orange badge. So if you have questions, just come up to us. Yeah, enjoy the day and see you later.
Thank you very much, OC and National President. So to start off this day, as we have many new faces in the room, we will be repeating the rules of the game and the safety team introduction, and then we will follow with a quorum check. So you can put this. So, rules of the game for NA Graz. So, what is a National Assembly? For those that were not here yesterday, is this your first National Assembly or have you been to one before? Okay, I'm seeing at least one nod in the room, so I'm going to take it as somebody has been before. So, I always like to use the ESN dictionary definition of what a National Assembly is. It is a meeting organized by ESN country and by extension the highest decision body of the country. It is also equivalent to the national platform in some cases, so basically it's when all members of ESN Austria get together and vote on the important matters to decide the future of your organization. So we are the chairing team. We were elected yesterday. So hi, for those that don't know me, my name is Ilza and I am the main chair for this NA. I have the lovely Filip, who is my vice chair, and I have Hristo from ESN Bulgaria, who is my technical chair. Some general rules to keep in mind during this National Assembly. Please be respectful to all the participants. You are not only representing yourself, but also your section and ESN Austria by extension. Please be on time and be present, as today and tomorrow is quite packed in the agenda, so we want to make sure everything is moving quite smoothly. And please be engaged on all the topics, and please pay attention and be respectful to the speakers. If you would like to have the official documents of ESN Austria, you can also find these in your emails and in the link tree. Here you can find the code of conduct, statutes, standing orders, any guidelines that might help you understand the procedures of the National Assembly, understand the procedures of anything occurring generally in ESN Austria. For the speakers list for this National Assembly, you are only to speak when the CT allows you to. So for example, if you have a question, you have to wait till I appoint you to speak. Before speaking, please state your name and your section. If you don't, your question will be rejected. You can have 2 questions or comments per time. However, please keep these concise and make sure that they are relevant to each other and not separate questions. Please be short and precise, as we will have many questions. We hope that the agenda will be able to move on time, and the CT may impose speaking times if it feels that it's needed. And do not repeat what has already been said. In the case where a question is repeated, just say covered by whoever asked it before. So all of the questions will be through Slido. Slido, hands up if you have used it before, have not. Amazing, so you're already familiar. The link has already been shared in WhatsApp, and it will be the same Slido for the entire weekend. The speakers list will always be open before the presentation ends, so you can already start putting your questions throughout the presentations. And you have to include your full question so that it is easier for the vice chair to take the minutes, and also include your name and section. If you don't include your name and section, the question will be rejected. So, some hand signs that are quite common for us. Firstly is 2 fingers, which means reaction. Reactions are on-spot interventions that you can do in order to correct or clarify or add up something if something has already been said, is incorrect, missing, or wrong. It is not a space to ask an additional question, it is more just a comment, so please do not, let's say, abuse the reactions, and we will stop you if there might be some mistakes or misunderstandings about it. So if you have a reaction at any time, just raise 2 fingers. Additionally, we also have 1 finger, which is the procedural. A procedural is something that will suspend the speakers list or the presentation immediately. It's basically to clarify a procedure or propose something for the National Assembly. So for this, you just raise 1 finger and you can raise your question or procedure. Lastly, we have 2 more signs. We have hands up for silence. So if somebody in the room raises both hands, everybody is also to raise their hands and to stop talking. And lastly, as our favorite mafioso from Eurovision likes to show, is the jazz hands for appreciation. To show that, you know, you like it and you agree. Very quickly about the voting rules, though this will be again explained tomorrow a bit more in detail before the votings happen. In ESN Austria, we follow 2 main types of voting. We have simple majority, which in this case, 5% of the cast votes is winning in any case, and votes abstains are not counted. And also we are using 2/3 absolute majority, where a vote option which reaches 2/3 of the cast votes is winning, and in this case abstain is counted. And this will be more clear tomorrow when we have all the votings. It will be very clearly labeled which voting type is used for each question. Lastly, we have 2 types of voting forms that we'll be using during this National Assembly. And also we have the
Works. Test.
Okay. Hello, everyone. We are the safety team for the NA. So I think we should repeat our names.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Susi from ESN Uniwien.
Alessandro.
And my name is Kati. I'm also from Uniwien.
So as yesterday, I will tell you again how, this is us with our phone numbers. And as also yesterday, I will tell you how you can reach us. And of course, we are available during the day, during the evening, wherever you feel like you would like to talk to us, just talk to us, come to us. Also, if you wanna chit chat, and also you can reach us throughout WhatsApp or on Slack or in person.
Yeah, and now let's talk a little bit about the rules of the game, and we already started off with that. But first things first, the code of conduct, so we all know what it says, and it's also pretty self-explanatory, some basic rules. No harassment, no bullying, no discrimination or anything of that kind. And also, I think we all agree that people get to choose if they want whatever they want to eat or whatever they want to drink, especially alcohol, or if they want to party, if they need some alone time, me time, if they need to chill. So please respect everyone's choices. I know sometimes it's just meant as a joke, but it can be, yeah, not very beneficial to a person. So please respect their boundaries and choices.
Again, for general behavior and welcoming. So respect people's gender identity, boundaries, and pronouns, and let's try also being inclusive with the language. So I mean, we're already starting also like to we all speak English, so everybody will be included, and also remember to include new people because not all of them might know how all of this works, and also when we talk about language, it's also useful, especially with the new people, not to use too many abbreviations. So people have to get familiar with them first. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, safety team. Now, to continue, we will be doing a quorum check before we proceed with the rest of the plenaries. So put the CT presentation. You can present. Okay, so we will be now proceeding with the quorum check. Again, I will state your section and I will state the vote holder's name. Please just state that you are present. And again, we need more than 50% for us to be able to continue with the agenda. Is everybody clear and understands what's going on? Okay, so ESN BFI Vienna, Gabriella. ESN Boko Wien, Dimitros. ESN Boko Wien is not present. ESN Buddy Network TUN, Camilla. ESN FH Wien WKW, Catherine. ESN Innsbruck, Andreas. ESN Innsbruck is not present. ESN Klagenfurt, Rashi. ESN Kufstein, Marian. ESN Kufstein is not present. ESN Linz. ESN Salzburg, Sophia. ESN St. Polten, Celine. ESN Technicum Wien, Mario. ESN TU Graz, Lev. ESN Uni Graz, Mario. ESN Uni Wien, Verena. With 11 sections present, we have met the quorum, so we are able to continue with the agenda. So, continuing on with the agenda, I would like to invite our guests from Yes Trips to come give their presentation.
Cool, guys. Thank you guys for having me again after Innsbruck. It's very, very exciting to be back again. I'm just going to quickly introduce Yes Trips. So sorry for the people who were there in Innsbruck. It's going to be very, very similar. I'll just go through that and go into the kind of projects that we like to present to you guys more in detail. So what's Yes Trips? Basically, I had a crazy idea when I was part of ESN Maastricht to start a travel company long time ago. And they decided, let's do this externally, so in case we go to Oktoberfest and everything goes wrong, it's not on the name of ESN. But it also got us to help other sections. So 15 years ago, we did the first trip, and we've kept that notion by ESN for ESN ever since. You can see some of the bigger trips that we've done. The bottom picture is a 1,000-person trip we do with ESN the Netherlands, and actually now ESN Belgium is joining that as well. It's a trip we do every single year to Prague. Oktoberfest is one of our biggest events, and bottom right, we also started now doing some crazier things like Carnival in Brazil and those kind of things. That's a little bit more post-Erasmus dream than it is during your Erasmus. That's something that I'll explain in a little bit. What we basically do is we basically partner up with ESN sections, help them with their trips where they don't see the capacity to organize them themselves. Doesn't mean they don't organize trips themselves. It just means more like an extension on the things they can't do themselves. And there's some benefits that we offer the sections of working with us. I think the main one is we make sure that there's no financial risk when working with us. I think we just translate the conditions of all suppliers into a package and a deadline, and that's just the deadline for which we have to sell the trip. And we just make sure that it's like a proper partnership where both of us set together a trip up that you guys are happy about, that we're happy about, and we just try to create some amazing memories. This is some example. Of course, there's also a financial aspect about this. Every section or ESN country we work with, there's a deal around it, where we pay them in commissions, but also fixed fees, and also some regular individual events. Like we just had a meeting with ESN Eltif to organize SEP. So that's something we do on top of that. And the reason why I want to show this slide as well is that you can always tell at the start of a partnership, we're still testing a little bit what kind of trips work and which one did not. With ESN UniWin, I think last fall we had like 3 trips lined up. Some things were missing. I think we as Yes Trips had them finished too late, so not all trips worked out very well. Also, as a Dutch person, I thought the King's Day trip was going to sell out within an hour. It did not. Apparently, that's a very, very Dutch thing. But it just takes a little bit of trial and error, and that's what we're here for, just to make sure we find that formula. And as you can tell, I think ESN Ireland is actually one of my favorite user cases. We started a few years ago. Here's some of our current partners, but that list is growing every single ESN Bulgaria is represented. They go to either Istanbul or Thessaloniki. But that list is ever growing, and I think that brings some really big advantages. The more this list keeps growing, the cooler events we get to set up. Especially if I look at the Prague trip, that used to be 3 sections from the Netherlands going to Prague. Now it's almost 20 sections all traveling together on the same weekend. Obviously, if you go with 1,000 people, you have a lot more options than if you go with 100. So that makes this really, really exciting. And ESN International plays a big part in it as well. We became international partner. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a little bit. But this is a little bit what the best user case I can almost share. You guys take a very good break during the summer because you deserve it. You're volunteers, you work hard. But we're full-time people working, so we take the summer to prepare and plan all the trips that you guys could potentially think about. And then when the introduction week comes, everything is ready. So the students arrive, that's the 1 week you have their attention. We have all the trips with ESN Ireland ready by that time. And by the time the introduction week is finished, 90% of the 7 trips we offer are already sold out. We did the same with ESN Graz last year, and I think that's probably the next slides. Oh, this is the opportunities first. We want to be an added value of ESN, and having done this for a long time, we sometimes see that we got to be very specific of what kind of trips we are an added value from. Sometimes they ask like day trips from us, and we think you guys are very smart people. You guys can organize those yourselves in a way that like it doesn't make sense to hire us to do those kind of trips. But where we really see we can be an added value is when you have a really difficult custom-made trip that you want to do, or larger events. Something like Oktoberfest or a 1,000-person event just takes a lot of work. That's where we really are an added value to the ESN network. And I think also the top one, because we're becoming so big, just joining forces with all kinds of other sections is a really big advantage as well. That's just the introduction. So now specifically I want to go into the trips that I think could be a match for you guys. But make sure this is just suggestions, not limitations. If you guys think of any other trip, feel free to suggest it. Oh, I'm going too fast. Oktoberfest, I think, is one of the trips that is very, very popular also amongst other ESN countries. Last year with ESN Graz, we tried it. I think it was sold out within 5 hours. And I think with the waiting list we had, I think we could have filled 3 buses. We're going to be preparing a little bit better this year. So we've already reserved a little bit the buses just to make sure we have the capacity. But of course, any section is welcome. And I know the Hungarian sections, Dutch sections, and the Belgian sections are also coming to Munich, where we have like an after party just for everybody who's staying there for the weekend. So I think that could be a really, really interesting trip. The only challenging is, and I just also plainly mentioned this, is the date. The last weekend is the first weekend of October. So it would mean that there is going to be a bit of a digital marketing kind of thing, but we're going to have to announce it beginning of September, even before the students arrive already, just to make sure that the ball is already rolling, that it doesn't become a short notice kind of thing. Another one, it's the working title, we call it SEP for Students, but I think it just needs a sexy name still. It's just a little bit boring, but it's just so that you guys get the idea. I think there's a huge potential of gathering every single SEP country, but then meeting together with all the students in a city. I think with the amount of students in that region, it could be a trip that's bigger than the Ibiza trip, and you could literally rotate destinations. I was talking to ES in Poland about doing something in Krakow in May when they have like a special a student event there. And I can only imagine all the sections from Hungary, Austria, maybe even the German sections all gathering in Krakow for just a fun, cool weekend. I think you could easily reach 1,500 to 2,000 students. And the cool part about this can rotate. So basically, May we could, for example, do Krakow. November we could do Budapest. But then the November after, we could invite all the Erasmus students from the region to Vienna. So you get this really, really cool notions of bringing everybody together. And you could give it a sexy name like Erasmus Gathering or whatever we want to call it. But the working title, SEP for Students, I guess that makes sense. And we already do something like this, but this is for the web countries. So we take 3 ESN countries, the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, to Krakow, to Prague every single November. It's like a recurring event. It's even getting to the point where ESN in the Netherlands goes to Copenhagen. Even the Nordic sections are now looking at that trip, potentially meeting everybody in Copenhagen for an event in May. So that's just a suggestion. One idea that, one thing that I wanted to share with you guys is what we do with ESN International though. This is a little bit what happens after your Erasmus. We see especially the non-European students, they travel around a little bit longer. They don't go home for Christmas or New Year's. So I once was doing the Northern Lights trip and there was a group of Chinese and Brazilian students who told me, yeah, I spent Christmas all alone in my dorm because nobody was organizing anything and I was in between trips. So with ESN International, we decided to fill up the semester, like the part in between the semesters, but also all the time after, because an Erasmus student they're not finished traveling when their Erasmus is over. These are the kind of trips they want to do in the long-term future. And the Carnival trip in Brazil was a little bit what we think in the long term could be what we kind of represent, is that Erasmus travel feeling also 5 years after your Erasmus, where you're not afraid to book a trip all the way to Brazil with a group of people because you know, oh wait, they're represented by the Erasmus network. I don't have to be afraid to book it by myself. I can join you guys. And that was one hell of a trip, to be honest. And what we do with these kind of trips, immediately during the semester as well, even though it's kind of aimed for in between the semesters, every single ESN board member already has a discount code for any of those trips at all times. That's something just we want to give back to you guys. All the Dutch sections have a discount code for both board members, but also something that's we can add to the ESN card. So the ESN International deals are more like an ESN card deal where the students have a discount, you guys get a commission for every booking, just to get that ball rolling. I'm going way too fast again. These are my contact details, but of course I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I'm going to be sticking around the rest of the day, also with a beer in case people have questions they were too shy to ask in front of the crowd.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It was really, really interesting and you kept on time, so great for the CT. We will now proceed with the question round, and we have 15 minutes for questions, so the audience can ask as much as they want. I will pass the mic to them, and then back to you. Reminder, please put your full name and section, because otherwise I have to reject the question. But in this case, the first question will be from Chantal. Until the mic person comes, I will manage it.
Thank you. So you mentioned a lot of advantages to partner Chantal, ESN Austria. You mentioned a lot of advantages to partner up with you, but then what are some advantages or limitations that you face just as an organization?
I think that's a very good question, and I think the only limitation that we've always mentioned to sections is the deadline of getting the minimum amount of participants in terms of sales. What we kind of do is we translate the booking conditions of buses, accommodations into a risk-free booking, but that means that there's a moment where we have to make a financial commitment, and that's usually like 2-3 weeks beforehand. In case we don't reach that, no worries, still no problem. We just cancel the trip and we transfer everybody 100% their money back, and we just consider it an experiment and we move on. That is, I think, the only limitation that we pose on sections. In terms also in that regard, ESN is not always the easiest target group because you have a really short time frame of selling and when the trip is actually happening, but we still manage to play our way around it. For example, ESN Brussels always goes to Paris. Paris hostels are not flexible. Their booking conditions are like 8 weeks beforehand, which is impossible. The students haven't even arrived yet. So we still turn it into a way where we start selling the trips without having an accommodation booked. And the moment they reach the minimum amount of participants, that's when we book it. Different kind of risk. We might not have an accommodation, but it's all into a system where you guys don't take any financial risk, because we've heard some horror stories with sections almost going bankrupt because of a trip that didn't sell. That's, I think, one of the main limitations that we put on. On top of that, but that's a little bit more a limitation from our end, is that when we start working with sections, sometimes they treat it as something that's an external activity. So when they're struggling with their own activities, we kind of get pushed on the back end. And what we're really looking for is partnerships where it feels like your activity. It's not Yes Trips goes to Oktoberfest, it's your section going to Oktoberfest, powered by, kind of. And even at the beginning, Yes Trips wasn't even mentioned on the promo stuff. So that's a little bit one of the challenges that we find. But so far it's been working out pretty well once we got that trick figured out. I think it was answered.
Thank you so much. I see we have our lovely mic volunteer as well. Perfect timing. So the next one is Catherine Univi.
Thank you. Katrin, ESN Uni Wien. I wanted to ask if something happens on one of your trips, let's say someone gets hurt, who takes over the responsibility, or how does it work? Like, I can imagine them that maybe they say, oh, something wasn't that well organized, so they would blame someone or whatever. How does this work?
Good question. So the nice thing about the trips is we always have people on site. We usually take around one guide per 30 people on the trip, which on a bus makes 2 people. So in case something happens, you always have this kind of like this extra person who, in case of a very serious emergency, can take care of the person, while the rest still make sure the trip happens. In terms of liability, that's also a very, very good question. We do have the regular tour operator insurance like any travel company does and needs. However, that is not connected to like a single accident of a person. So we still recommend every participant to have their own travel insurance. But what we do with a training session of our guides, we kind of tell them kind of like a step-by-step procedure. Okay, someone is hurt, what do you do? And then there's a few checklist things that they have to ask. Is like, for example, a very simple example, your phone gets stolen, what do you do? Well, one, you talk to your insurance, but you also need a police report. Those kind of checklists from, okay, just think a little bit further, what kind of documentation, what kind of help does the person need in order to help out? Of course, we're also available from the head office on top of that, so in case something happens, you got the 2 people on site and our head office that is always looking around as well. So far, let me knock on wood, we've been able to fix every situation that has come by.
Before we continue, I would like to ask, is there somebody else currently writing a question? And in that case, the speakers list remains open. The next question goes to Sophie, ESN Austria.
Hello, Sophie ESN Austria. What is the structure of Yes Trips as a company?
Well, technically we're Sociedad Limitada in Spain. There's another company that owns a share in our company, but basically we are independent thing because we just want to make sure we, in terms of values and stuff like this, we don't always connect with the values of the other company that we are connected to. We're just basically our own brand, and there's, well, the way we see it, the structure is twofold. We're on the one side B2B, working directly with ESN sections, helping their trips, but now we're building like a proper tour operator on top of that with that Erasmus feeling as a background. The idea is very simple. We had 10,000 travelers per year, all from the ESN trips that we're doing, but those people don't want to stop traveling. So beyond the B2B side of what we're doing during the Erasmus semester, that's what we're building on top of it. So that's less of a structure, but that's sometimes where you get the confusing part. Okay, what is it that we're really doing? Are we both just B2B or B2C? We're kind of both now. Was that clear?
Before we continue, as we have 7 questions, I propose to close the speakers list. Is there any objections? No objections, the speakers list is closed. From now, I ask the answers to be a little bit more concise if possible. In this case, the next question is Mario Vinegraz.
Mario, Auditboard. Question from my side. If I approach you with a custom trip idea, how do you plan it or go ahead with seeing if it's even feasible?
Good question. We just basically research. So we have a team of people that are very, very good at planning and organizing trips. We also give you a little bit of advice on terms of what we think is a good thing or not, with all the experience that we have. For example, sometimes it sounds very romantic to do a trip with flights, but we just know booking condition-wise that's nearly impossible for an ESN section, just because of the financial risk and the counterintuitive part that a group flight is more expensive than an individual flight. These are some of the things we can tell you straight off the bat in the introduction meeting that we would have. Plus on top of that, it's also more like a recommendation. When we have a meeting and you tell me like, oh, I want to go to this place, but it's like 20 hours by bus, we're pretty much immediately going to tell you, that doesn't sound very comfortable. So in an intro meeting, I think it's always a brainstorm session that we have, what you should look at, what you should not. And actually Philip had a really interesting idea for a trip. We see that sections almost automatically always want to go to the big romantic cities, but actually that's a little bit counterintuitive because that's very easy for the students to travel to themselves. So the kind of trips that work really, really well with Erasmus sections are the trips the students don't really want to do by themselves. And I think Philip was thinking of a trip through the Balkans that is super feasible for us and super interesting for the students. So we just go about it together. When we come out of the meeting and you have an idea, oh, I would like to get an offer from this, we prepare an offer, we send it to you, and then you can still say yes, no, or I want to change this. What's important, it's your trip. We just check it. And in terms of also like feasibility is not only can you do it, also in terms of price. Maybe we won't be able to answer a question straight off your first request, but sometimes we come back afterwards like, hey, if you want to do this kind of trip, this is the kind of price we would be looking at. And then I guess both of us come to the conclusion, maybe not. And then still feasibility comes one step further. We do the experiment, and it might be that we think it's a good idea. We offer it to the students, but they don't think it's a good idea. And then we end up with a failed experiment. That just means we got to try something else next semester.
Thank you so much. Next question, Anna Univi.
Yes, Anna Univin. It's like not a criticism or anything. I was just wondering myself. Like I saw that you do the trip ESN Snow, but you don't do it with the section that originally does this trip. How?
People see it's a very common name for a skiing trip with ESN sections, but we didn't come up with the name. ESN Tilburg in the Netherlands was the one who originally coined that term, and they just wanted to keep that trip going. So it's completely independent from the Italian sections who have the exact same name for their trip. But yeah, it's just a really, really easy play with words that a lot of sections just take immediately. So yes, I do understand the criticism. I want to take my hands off it and say that's not on us. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you so much. The next question is to Gabrielle.
Hi, Gabriela, ESN BFI Vienna. We wanted to know, like, if we wanted to do a partnership with you, like, how does it work? Like, how do we get started? And yeah.
I guess it's very easy. You have my contact details on the slide, or you can get them from the OC. Just write me a message via WhatsApp or email, and then we plan a meeting. We talk a little bit about the feasibility stuff. What are you thinking? What would you like to do? And then we come back with an offer. That offer is still everything in everything changeable, so to say. And the moment you like it, we prepare the marketing stuff for you. We can create flyers, posters, send it to your office. And then I think it's just very important that everything is finished before the introduction week starts. And then you guys, I think the main part in that point is where we do the preparation. You know how to reach your students best. I think that would be the final step to offer it to the students. And then the trip happens, and then we sit down for feedback.
Thank you so much. The next question to Chantal.
Chantal, ESN Austria. Do you partner up with anyone else in terms of not just in an ESN section, but for example, the country that you're traveling to? Let's say it's Croatia. Do you go then and maybe partner up with a yacht company or a boat company, and then that makes it cheaper, and then you do that every year?
Yes, we do. And actually, that's the nice thing about becoming so big is that we get volume. So when we go to Prague various times, we can negotiate better deals with the clubs, better deals with the boat parties and those kind of things. On top of that, in terms of deals locally, we actually also try to work with the local section where we're traveling to. That doesn't always work out as well as you'd think. I think Thessaloniki always organizes really amazing social programs for ESN Bulgaria, but other trips, the local section hasn't always done the best deal. So we also kind of want to do as a filter in between. It's like, hey, we as a network, we want to make sure we when we go to a place, we work with them, but we do want to make sure that it's good. So both in terms of local suppliers, yes, we work with them, and in terms of the local sections, we also try to team up with them. Because I think that's just a really cool part. You go to Prague, there's 1,000 students. It would be so cool to do something with the local students there as well.
Next question to Catherine Onirine.
Katrin Onivin. I wanted to ask, because you mentioned that there's people from the YES trips, but also ESNers there. Is that always the case? How does it work? Because as far as I remember, we had a trip where there was no one really from YES trips there. So I wanted to ask how this is now and how that would be if we organize something for next year semester.
Very good question, because this is a very long story. It's a bit of a complicated question, because in theory we started off with YES trips guides and ESN board members. However, we in some ESN countries, some of the ESN sections told us, hey, but we want to be the YES trips guides on that trip. So we sent them the documentation, we gave them the training. So in the essence, the ESN board members, they kind of switched sides and became, during that trip, YES trips members. Because it's kind of like a paid position where you get an extra free trip for the volunteers. So ESN Croatia said, like, no, we don't want to have anybody external on the trip. We rather have a discount, and we rather take more ESN members for free on the trip than taking YES trips members. So we've always let that choice to the section. So we always tell them we have 3 different options. Either we send somebody from our team, or we recruit students in Vienna to manage the trips. We train them, prepare them, recruit them. But the best system what we found, but that's what we do with the Netherlands, is we train and recruit them, but ESN helps us recruit them. So some people recommend, oh, we have these people, they will be really, really good. They go through us, we train them, prepare them. For that weekend, they're a YES trips guide. That's a little bit the hybrid system. And then ESN Croatia went even further. No, it has to be an ESN member managing the trip and doesn't even wear anything from YES trips. So we leave a little bit of flexibility in that regard, what jacket they wear, just a matter of labels. But the preparation, training, and documentation is the same at all times, if that makes sense. So we always have 2 people on the trips responsible. Where that person comes from is a little bit a question. and very specific to each ESN country. ESN Switzerland, for example, you had ESN Croatia that said has to be from ESN. ESN Switzerland meant the other extreme has to be external, just to make sure that there's a split. So that's always what I love about ESN. It's the same formula in every single country. It's very, very different. So we always have to check a little bit what works for you guys. But I do remember this in the first semester was a little bit of a confusion. What are the responsibilities and stuff like this? So now we've tested it, now we know.
Thank you so much. Last question to Mario.
Mario, audit board. Your examples were mostly cultural trips or party trips. How much experience does CS Trips have with more on the sport and activity side when it comes to trips?
What kind of activities are you thinking of?
Sports, basically. I think you mentioned something about skiing, but do you do other sports activities?
So skiing we've done a lot. Sport activities we also did, but when we visited like football games from the, well, it's always a little bit of a question, can you get tickets to a specific event? But we also have pretty much like quite a bit of experience with those kind of things. Visiting sports games mainly, in the Netherlands we at some point started inviting sections to come see a game of the Dutch national football team, but they got a little bit popular, so they don't give us tickets anymore. Now, but we have a lot of experience with all kinds of custom events. Just write us kind of what you're thinking of. Skiing, we have a lot of experience. We think the biggest trip we've ever done was a 2,000 person skiing trip. I don't think I've slept so little in a week as in my life, but we managed to pull it off. And in the end, I think if once you get used to these really, really big numbers, it's no longer a challenge in a way that you think about a flow of people. Actually, one of the trips that I didn't mention with ESN International, but it's actually super popular, is a surf camp in the summer. A lot of people want to do that, and they feel included. If you have this Erasmus feeling, you go to Portugal to surf. So that has also been one of those projects. So I guess that one would count somewhere in there.
Thank you. A huge round of applause for our guest speaker. It was very lovely. Now we will be continuing on to our candidacies for this National Assembly. Before we begin, I would like to invite a member of the National Board to explain how this will work.
So for the candidacy, Laura will be doing her candidacy with a video presentation, and afterwards she will be open for question and answers from you. For that, we will open up a Slack thread in the announcements channel, so especially for the vote holders. You can post your questions there and she will answer them until today evening. The deadline, I think we have agreed on 8 o'clock. So until then you can post questions there and she will answer until then. So you're ready for tomorrow for the voting. Thank you.
Yes, so all candidacy presentations will have a Slack thread, and all of the people who are presenting through Google Meets will have a question round through Slido. So firstly, we'll be starting with the candidacy for Education Officer by Laura Mullner.
Just want to say, I watched this, enjoy, it's amazing.
This is Laura, and with this video, she is applying for the position of Education Officer of ESN Austria. Laura is 22 years old and currently studying digital media management in the most beautiful city in Austria, in St. Pölten. She is a passionate violinist and plays at the symphonic she met in ESN proudly called herself a newbie. And she also attended her first National Assembly in Vienna, together with her new ESN newbie bestie, Lizzie. But the wide world called Laura's name. So a week after she packed her stuff and flew to Spain for a 5-month-long lasting fiesta. Others also call it Erasmus semester. The time she spent outside with her friends on the beach and dancing in the clubs was not really in balance with the time she spent studying. But I guess you only live once, and at least her motivation to continue with ESN after returning to Vienna was even bigger than before. So Laura became the event manager of ESN BFI and showed off with her extraordinary organizational skills. Within the next year, Laura learned a lot and tried to master the almost impossible task of understanding how ESN works in detail. And so it came that a year, 2 NAs, 1 EGM, and 100 million organized events later, she was ready for something bigger. Laura gathered all her courage and became the president of the best section in the world. Reasons why ESN BFI is the best section in the world. Wait, guys, wrong notes. That's another story. So back to Laura and her. So from now on, everybody was finally doing what she said. And together with her teams, she formed the future of Erasmus at their local university. Another year passed, and after saying I am the president more often than we could count, Laura decided that it was time to give the crown and all the power to someone else, and to say, I am the education officer from now on, which in my opinion sounds equally powerful, because education is actually also a really important topic. It is our foundation for personal growth and long-term success. It opens doors to new opportunities, broadens our perspectives, and empowers us to actively shape our own future and contribute meaningfully to society. For her mandate, Laura wants to maintain the good partnership with OEAD and maybe even level it up and organize something together with them. She also wants to look into the topic of Erasmus in schools and give it a try to implement it on a regular basis. Because school is mostly boring, and at ESN, you guys are known to make boring things more fun. Alright, that's all for now. If you have any questions, Laura needs to answer them by herself, because I definitely need a break now.
So I hope you all really enjoyed that candidacy. As we see that the next speaker has not yet joined the Google Meets, I have a proposal. I propose to do all of the video candidacies first and then the spoken candidacies after. Is there any objections to changing the agenda to this? Therefore, we will have WPA and ALPS candidacy first. No objections? Then we will proceed like this. In this case, Web Projects Administrator will be the next candidacy. I would like to withdraw my procedural. As I understood all the candidacies. I don't know all of your beautiful faces yet, and I understood all the candidacies will be online.
Abdi is here, Hannah is here, Peter is having a video, René is also
Then in this case, I would like to retract that, and we go back to the original